I got cut off. I don't remember what I was going to say. I watched it over again, and it sounds pretty. I'm, I'm like a blaze. It's like I'm blazed. you know, but anyway, what are we going to do on a practical level? I think we're going to be fine. I think most of us are recovering. The West the West is represented by America and its allies. We have yet to really respond. War is not a response. War is a reaction. And we have to remember the difference between a response and a reaction. When they tell us that we can't even make jokes about their prophet, and we don't even believe in what they believe in, aren't they just dehumanizing us? We have our ways too. We're not out to kill anybody, and let's not forget that. And I think really all this layers of complexity that we've added, the internet, global communications. Look, I'm recording this on an iPhone 4. All these layers of complexity and stimulation, just raw stimulation. I'm sure a lot of you are out there blowing coke and having tons of sex, and good on you. But anyway, all these layers of complexity that are going on, and look at hip hop. It's like spoken word music. That's the most lyrics you're ever going to hear in one song, and all the guy is telling you is that he's the greatest, But all this complexity, that is the disease. Maybe there's somebody just told me on the phone. Jack Gibney just told me on the phone. He said. In the 60s and up until the 60s and maybe into the 70s, there was a view of mental illness that it was a learned thing, maybe something from early childhood, like you take cues from your parents about facial expressions and the way that they move, their body language, all of this. And now we've gone inside and we've done the biology and we say all that is bullshit. But it's not. We're just learning that, for instance, there's like cultural hereditism, if that's the word. There's things are hereditary that are cultural. And if they're cultural, that means that they're familial, as well. They're not just cultural, they're familial. And within the family unit, it's like kids are like a blank canvas, Maybe the canvas has a smiling face on it, and you can see a whole bunch of personality in that smiling face, But it's like a blank canvas, and when we interact with kids, why do parents try to take their children, everywhere, that they can, and meet the most people that they can? A certain kind of parents, they do it because, not because they have the money, they do it because they want their children to get as much, input as they can, because they themselves are not perfect, and children have such a tendency to look on their parents as perfect, and the perfectionism is really a disease, and so are a bunch of other things, the neuroses, I think that what happened in 9/11, for instance, and still happens to many people who know and have loved ones involved in the wars, is that it's like a form of trauma, and all the propaganda, but never mind this propaganda, all of the stimulus is convert it into language. We have to convert. You see, you feel, you intuitively react, and then you convert it into words. Maybe your brain does it for you sometimes. Sometimes your brain offers the conversion itself, and then other times it doesn't quite know how to phrase the conversion. Maybe there are many options, maybe there's inquiry that's required, maybe there's something else going on, but it has to convert it. It needs you, who is not your brain, you are not your mind. It needs you to help convert the things into language, and when we have too much stimulus, your brain is running a whole bunch of background programs at the same time. You're trying to keep track of it as a conscious person, and the whole thing gets carried away, and it gets carried away in the form of words, not in dendrite stimulation, not in dopamine, not in serotonin, but in the form of words. And we have to convert the feelings into words, because we can't deny the feelings. You can't repress who you are, or you end up like me. You end up a person who's had 4 psychotic episodes, and they tried to label me schizophrenic and all of this kind of stuff, and you have to, and you have pains in your head. You feel it in your head, and it's not like a headache. I never had a headache in my life, so I didn't know what a headache was. My mom had them, but I didn't know what they were, and all I had was like sometimes sensation in my head. I wouldn't call it headache, but now I've noticed very acute pains in different parts of my head, and I'm sure that it's like regions of my brain that are on fire. There's too much going on, and all this imaging stuff, we just wish we could see that going on, and it's about morale. It's not about Western civilization being right. We don't need to be right to be us or to be number one or whatever. It's just about morale. There's people out there on the ground, here in the city, there in the country. There's people. It's not just characters. It's not just, politicians who you can stereotype. Once you stereotype somebody, you turn them into a kind of character. So if you don't know much about somebody and you want to have an opinion about them, you better go and get a little bit of stimulation from that person. Like either if you like a song, go see the people in an interview. Don't just see them at a concert. See them in an interview.